on YouTube. Also, one last thing, if you have not muted yourself, please do so we don't have any interference. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that we can get started. Okay. Are we good, Mrs. Inca?
We're ready. Looks
Okay. So again, welcome. And as I stated, this is on the whole financial aid process. Now, if you're new to it, welcome. It's quite enjoyable. It's not as daunting as it used to be, but there are some changes. So if you have had a student in the past that's been in college or you yourself, there are some changes to the process, and we'll cover those tonight so that when you go ahead and file on October 1st, that you're all set to go. What we're going to cover when and how to apply, the 7 things you need to do before you fill out the FAFSA, creating your FSA ID, which is basically your financial aid signature. We're going to cover the IRS data retrieval tool, next steps, and then questions. So we've gotten a lot of emails recently as to why your student has to fill out the financial aid application, or why do I have to if I'm not going to school, etc. Illinois is one of a few states across our country that's requiring the FAFSA now to be filled out by seniors as part of their graduation requirements. What's the point of it? Why are they making students do this? Well, a lot of times kids' plans change or family situations change. So the importance of having an application on file is vital. You may not think you will qualify for aid, but you never know. So having that application on file is just going to open up a world of opportunities. So the point of Illinois doing it was to provide more financial aid to more students from low income and working class backgrounds. There's a new alternative application this year for undocumented or transgender students. We'll cover that later in the presentation, but I just wanted you to be aware of that as well. That was weird. Okay, so the 2021-2022 FAFSA completion. So as students, your student is going to be a freshman in college in the fall of 2021. So the application that you guys want to fill out is the 2021-2022 FAFSA. When you log in on October 1st, you're going to notice a 2021 and a 2020 or 21-22 application. Make sure you're doing the 21-22. You're doing it for the year coming ahead where your student is going to be a freshman in college. Okay. Now remember, this is very important. This is your student's application. It's not the parent application. Your student is the one enrolling in college. So this is actually their application. They do require parent information, but this is the student's information and application that's going to be put on here. So there's a couple ways to go about doing this. They have an app, which Mrs. Inca was kind enough to put the app on here. It's the My Student Aid app, and it's located in the Google Play Store and the App Store if you have an iPhone. Or you can do FAFSA.gov. So FAFSA.gov. Now, FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So it's a free application. If you go to FAFSA.com, they're going to ask for a $75 fee to complete the application. Do not do that. Make sure you're going to FAFSA.gov. Okay, so what do you need to do before you fill out the 2021 FAFSA? What you can do now, as soon as this presentation is over, you can go online and create your FSA ID. Now, one student, the student needs to create an ID and one parent. Okay, not two parents. We just need one parent and the student to create an FSA ID. Now, this is going to be basically your financial aid signature moving forward. So, all 4 years in college, if you plan on going to graduate school afterwards, you'll always have this ID. This is going to be your financial aid signature. In order to create one, you need your social security number, driver's license number, if you have one, your records, your tax records from 2019. So the FAFSA uses prior tax information. So not 1 year before, but 2 years before the application. So our graduates this year, from this year, the class of 2021, will be filling out the 2021-2022 FAFSA, so you'll need your 2019 tax records. Any records of untaxed income, and we'll get into that in a little bit, and records of your assets. And then, of course, a list of schools you're interested in. So, who is eligible for FAFSA? This is a very common question. Are you eligible? Okay. So, if you can answer yes, I'm a U.S. citizen, you're eligible to receive federal funds. If you're not an eligible citizen, but you have documentation, you still qualify for FAFSA. Now, if you're not a citizen or an eligible non-citizen and don't have an alien registration number, that's where the alternative application for student aid comes in. So again, your FSA ID, each student and one parent need to create the ID. This is your signature. This is your identification for federal student aid. Very simple. And again, you don't have to write this down. We'll provide the links to this at the end of our presentation. But if you go to studentaid.gov, you're going to see a nice green box there. It just says create your FSA ID. And just have those certain documents ready. And this is what it looks like. You do need a working email. So if you don't have one, parents, you can create one on Google or Yahoo. Students, we suggest not using your district email because all correspondence with your financial aid application should be going to a personal email, because once you graduate from Bloom Trail, you're no longer going to have access to all those emails. So you should be using a personal email for this. And like anything else, you'll create a username and password. And for your password, it's pretty specific. You need numbers, uppercase letters, lowercase letters, special characters, and it has to be between 8 and 30 characters. So it's pretty complicated there. So make sure you write that down. Again, this is what it looks like. You'll need your social security number, name, birth date. It has to be your legal name. So whatever name is on your social security card is the name that you have to put on your financial aid application, or it's going to cause issues when schools go to award you your financial aid. It's going to cause a flag, and then you're going to have to provide the schools with additional documentation proving you are who you say you are. So make sure you use your legal name that is on your social security card. Again, they'll send you a text message that has a secure code. And once you do that, your FSA ID is up and running. So like I said, you can do this now. As soon as our presentation's over, go ahead and create your ID and tuck it away in a nice place, because you're going to need it not only for this year. The FAFSA is a process that you have to go through every single year. So October 1st is the earliest you can do it. So just get in the habit, set your alarms, your notifications on September 30th at midnight, or October 1st at midnight, I should say. You can go in and fill out the application. Again, it's going to have you verify a few things. So it's pretty secure. It is a government website. So there are a number of steps that you have to go through in order to create and verify your ID. So when using tax information, now the example that we have up here, because they don't have an updated one, is from 2015, but it hasn't changed. It looks exactly the same. parents, you have to provide your financials. And the easiest way to do it without, I guess, inputting wrong information is the FAFSA has an IRS data retrieval tool. And basically, if you filed a 1040, a 1040EZ, or a 1040A, you can link your IRS from your tax form from 2019, your federal one, to the FAFSA, and eliminates all the guessing work out of what numbers to put and where. So if you filed your taxes in 2019, we highly recommend just linking your IRS data to the FAFSA, and that way you're not messing up any of the financials if you had questions on them or not. And it makes for a much quicker process because that information has already been verified by the IRS. Again, it takes you to the IRS website, which of course they're going to tell you is secure and it's only for authorized use, but it's the information you'll need: first name, last name, social. It's all there. I'm not going to read it to you. So once you input that information, it's going to link your 2019 taxes to that FAFSA. And then you're pretty much all set with your financial information. So it's pretty quick, pretty easy. The other information you're going to need is records of your untaxed income and assets. So anything in your checking and savings, as well as any stocks and bonds and real estate, not the real estate. If you have a mortgage and you live in that house, you don't include that house as real estate. When they talk about real estate, they're talking about if you have a rental property, the income that you get from that rental property. If you have a second home off in some island or something, they want to know that because they will count that as income. Also, if you have an educational plan for your child, you do have to include that. If you do receive child support, you have to include that as well. So when we talk about untaxed income, those are the types of things that you have to document. Now, there's going to be a question on how much is currently in your checking and savings. What I tell parents, and we've been telling, and it's okay to do so, at the end of the month, after all your bills are paid, what's left over? That's the amount that you want to put in your checking account. Not, hey, I got paid today, my bills aren't due for 15 days, I have all this money. That's not what they want. They want to know what's available in your checking and savings at the end of the month when everything is paid. Okay. So after you go through the financials, your students can list up to 10 schools that are going to receive this information. So if you've been accepted to schools already, you obviously want to have that information. Or even if there's a slight chance that you're going to apply to a college, make sure you list them. There's no harm in it. It doesn't cost anything. Just make sure you list those schools. It's easier to list them initially than it is to go back after a couple months have passed and add the school on there, because then you have to notify the school that you went back and added them. And it's, it just saves a couple steps and emails and phone calls and things like that. A key thing here though is, even though you've applied to a school, you're not going to hear from a college financial aid office until you've actually been admitted. Okay, so the first thing is to apply, then get admitted, and then what's called a financial aid award letter will follow after you've been admitted to the college or university. So if you haven't been admitted but you've submitted the application, you just have to, basically you're in a holding pattern. You have to wait and see if you're admitted, and then that will follow afterwards. Okay, we suggest all of our students list Prairie State. It's always an option. You never know. If you're going to go away to school, we don't know if we're going to be remote some more, and it may be more feasible for you to stay at Prairie State for a semester or a year. We don't know. Just add Prairie State. There's no harm in doing that, and then you're already secured with that. So after that, after the financial aid form is completed and submitted, the fun begins, because you're not going to hear from these schools probably until after the first of the year, most likely later, February, Marchish. But that doesn't mean you can't look for other scholarships. Mrs. Inca has them posted to the website. She has emailed them to you. They're all in Naviance. She updates the counseling website. You're probably inundated with emails, but make sure you're sifting through those, because those outside scholarships are in addition to what money you would get from the FAFSA. So the FAFSA covers your federal aid and your state aid, and any other additional outside scholarships or athletic scholarships or academic scholarships are independent of the FAFSA. So just remember that. And again, here's the link. It's fafsa.ed.gov. Remember, it's not .com. .com is going to ask for money, and this is a free application. So don't ever give anyone money to fill out this application. So what is a timeline? What does it look like? As I stated earlier, when we're done, I would suggest going online and creating your FSA ID and just stashing it, because on October 1st, when FAFSA.gov goes live for the 2021-2022 academic year, you can go ahead and fill out the application. Now, we suggest doing it as early as possible. It's basically for at least state aid. If you've ever heard of the Illinois MAP grant, it's a monetary award program. It is first come, first serve. So those students that qualify for it based on their expected family contribution, which is the number that is generated after you complete the FAFSA and supply your financial information, that is first come, first serve. So every student that completed their application in a timely manner and their EFC qualifies for it, they will get it. So in previous years, and we all know the budget constraints with the state of Illinois, they're not going to tell us when they cut that off. Some years is earlier than others. So we just suggest doing it as soon as possible, especially with FAFSA using 2 years prior information. So if you filed taxes in 2019, you just link it from the IRS data retrieval tool and you're good to go. All right. So once you fill out the information and you share it with colleges and universities, students are going to receive what's called a SAR, a student aid report. That's basically a report generated with all of the information that was inputted on the FAFSA. You just keep it, it's documentation, go through it, make sure everything looks correct and what you submitted looks good. If something looks off or you think there's a mistake on there, you can always go back into your FAFSA and change that information. So review it, and there's a random process called verification. Some schools will require 100% of their students that filed for financial aid. They're going to ask for additional documentation. So verification means they want to see your tax forms. Even though if you did the data retrieval tool, they may still want to see the tax forms that were used to fill out the FAFSA. And basically they're just, crossing their T's and dotting their I's and making sure that the financial information on the application matches the 2019 federal tax return. Some schools only do 30% verification. Some schools will do 100%. Don't get offended by it. It doesn't mean anything other than you were either selected at random or that school does 100% of their students verified. Let's see, if you have applied and been accepted to a college and you listed on your FAFSA, the school's going to send you the award letter. Okay. Nowadays, it's going to be electronic. Once you're admitted to schools, they give you an ID number from that school to log into their electronic sites, and all of their award letters and everything's done electronically these days. So that's why I said when you use a personal email for FAFSA, don't use your Bloom Township one, because once you're gone in May, that gets wiped out and you're going to lose all those emails. So make sure you do this on your personal email. So this is an example of an award letter. So this student in particular, they went through they completed the FAFSA. They may or may not have went through verification. So the financial aid office verified all of the income information on there was legit. And then they moved forward with the award letter. The student was admitted. So based on the FAFSA, they give you a couple different things. So an award letter is always going to have your cost. So your direct cost, the cost of attendance. All right. What did it cost for tuition if you're staying on campus, your room and board, books and supplies? They give you a financial aid budget. Okay. This budget here where it says total cost of attendance down here, that includes everything, but your direct costs are tuition, fees, and room and board. Those are your direct costs. So if you ever want to figure out what aid is covered and what isn't, you just add up your tuition, your fees, and your room and board. The other items are there to give you a financial aid budget in case you needed to borrow additional loan funds or in case they need to give you more money to cover those things. Okay. So that's your cost of attendance up here. And then, excuse me, down at the bottom here for the award summary, because you filled out the FAFSA and you were admitted to the school, it tells you, yes, you were awarded a federal Pell Grant. This was generated from the FAFSA. The state of Illinois MAP grant, this came from FAFSA. This Illinois Commitment Scholarship, that's something from the university. The same with the Business Access Scholarship, the University Tuition Grant, the President's Award Scholarship, and a reported business school. So as you can see, this student here got tons of what we call institutional money from other places other than the FAFSA. So this university had a lot of other grants and scholarships to award their students, and therefore this student met that. So met the need for it, so it was awarded that. Okay. Then you always have the option of borrowing student loan money. It's limited based on your years in school. As a freshman, you can only borrow a certain amount. But it's your option. If you want to accept it or deny it, that's totally up to you. If you indicate on the FAFSA that you're interested in student loans, that financial aid office is going to award it to you. That doesn't mean you have to take it. They're going to offer it. If you take it, you have to accept it. You're going to have to do like a loan entrance counseling, basically understanding that it's a loan that needs to be paid back, so on and so forth. But that's your option. If you don't want the loan money, you can always decline it. It'll never come. It'll never go in your name. Many of our Illinois public colleges are offering free tuition to our students that have a combined family income of $61,000 or less. So again, the question comes up, well, why do I have to fill out a FAFSA? Well, if you meet this criteria of family income of $61,000 or less and your student has a GPA of a 3.0 or higher, they can go to school tuition free. Their tuition will be covered. You'll be responsible for room and board, which if you fill out the FAFSA, would most likely cover the majority, if not all of that. So just keep that in mind when the question keeps coming up, why do I need to do this? Okay, so that's one example of an award letter. This is another example. This is from Western Illinois University. Again, you have your direct costs up here, which is just your tuition and fees and room and board. And then the grants and scholarships that this student qualified for based on completing the FAFSA. And then where it says institutional aid right here, that was money that the student got based on their academics. So every student, once they do apply to a college and they receive their transcripts, might qualify for institutional aid just based on their merit. So merit being any test scores. Our students most likely won't have test scores to send unless they take it on their own, or and a lot of schools are waiving that, by the way, or their GPA. So based on those two criteria, students can qualify for institutional aid, institutional merit aid. And then again, they offer the loans. The loans are to cover the unmet need. So if there's a difference between direct costs in financial aid, that's what's owed out of pocket. And typically that's when the schools will offer X amount of dollars to cover the additional if you don't want to pay that out of pocket. Okay, so those are just two examples of award letters. Now remember, these come after the student has been admitted to the school and has completed the financial aid application. This is what comes after that. This is the final step in the process. And then of course, you can sit and compare award letters from schools. If you're choosing between 3 or 4 different schools, you'll have these award letters out in front of you. And if it comes down to a financial decision, everything is there for you in writing. Okay. Let's skip there. So as we touched on at the beginning, there is an alternative application for financial aid. This is new. It's called the Retention of Illinois Students and Equity Act, otherwise known as the RISE Act. And it's to provide students who are Illinois residents and aren't eligible for FAFSA, not limited to transgender students or non-citizens, to be able to receive Illinois state funds that could be used towards tuition. So the alternative application, if you don't qualify to fill out the FAFSA, if you don't meet the eligibility criteria, there is an alternative application that can give you access to the MAP grant, which is roughly between $55,000 and $6,000 per year. They haven't set the limits yet this year, but that's what it's been for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years or so. So, at the very least, there is that for our students that don't meet the criteria to complete the FAFSA. What documentation do you need? It's basically the same as the FAFSA. You'll need your 2019 federal income taxes, W-2s, any records of untaxed income, bank statements, and of course the list of colleges the student wants to apply to, and anyone in the household. So anyone else that's in your house that parents you pay at least 50% of support for, you can include that on that application. So again, the easiest way to go about doing the FAFSA, the app and the website are in lockstep. So the app looks exactly like the website. So if you started on one and want to finish it on the other, go ahead. They're exactly the same thing. There's nothing on the app that's not on the website and vice versa. They still do offer paper applications. I highly recommend not doing that. If you do an online application or do it through the app, the turnaround is probably 2 to 3 days to get confirmation that the FAFSA has been received. If you go the paper route, you're talking about a 3 to 4 week backlog just to even get a response that it's been received. So if you're not comfortable, remember these are secure websites. And if you do the IRS data retrieval tool, it takes out all of the guessing of the financials and should make it a little easier for you. And we're also available. So all the counselors at Bloom Trail are available for assistance. So these are your resources, and these links here are live. So when we're going to provide the presentation for you, you can just click on our emails, and if you need assistance with anything, we'll be happy to help you. On this, I wanted to show you on this online resources that Mrs. Inca put together. If you just click on there, this is what it looks like. So you have all of these are links to what we just covered. Okay, so if you wanted to know how to get an FSA ID, you would click that. If you wanted to complete your FAFSA, you click here. If you want to know what an EFC and a student aid report, you click there. Scholarships there. So it's pretty, she did a great job of making it as simple as possible, but you have access to this as well. Okay, so what we highly suggest is for you, when we're done here, is to go create your FSA ID, put that aside. Remember, one parent needs to do it, and the student needs to do it, and then you're good to go. And you just wait to be admitted to your schools, and probably January, February to roll around until you get an award letter from those schools. Okay. Do we have any questions, media or moderators?
I don't see any questions, but I did want to bring up one more thing. All of this will be emailed to all the parents tomorrow and students. So the PowerPoint will be emailed. Those resources will be emailed. Our step-by-step guide will be emailed. I know I keep emailing over and over again, but everything is so important, especially at this time since we're all remote. So I'm trying to get you every resource possible, whether it's written or video. So it's all coming. So tomorrow, it should get out to you tomorrow, if not the latest Thursday.
Were there any questions about as to why you need to complete it? You know, of course, it's a graduation requirement per the state of Illinois, but you never know what's going to happen, and students change their minds. Sometimes family income situations change, and if you don't have a FAFSA on file, or if it's filed late, you miss out on federal and state aid that would have otherwise been available. So there's no harm in completing it. If you qualify for grant and scholarships, fine. If not, you know that the loan availability is there if you need it, but you really don't know what can happen in the future. Like, obviously, none of us expected this pandemic to come rolling along, and we know a lot of people were affected by it, and so do the colleges and universities. So when in doubt, just have it completed. There's no information on there that the IRS doesn't already know. So if you're worried about being secure and things like that, just remember the IRS data retrieval tool is straight linked to the IRS. So there is no one else that gets their hands on it. The counselors don't see things. Obviously, the college and university will see the financials, but it's strictly between the student and the college. So just remember that.
Mr. Doyle, when is the deadline for it?
There is no deadline, but we highly recommend doing it as soon as possible on or after October 1st. It is
Okay.
first come, first served.
Mhm.
So if the state, decides to cut off MAP grant funds earlier than usual, and you don't have your financial aid application filled out, you lose out on that $5,000 to $6,000 if you qualify for it.
Okay.
So, Mr.
And
Bill,
go
Thank
ahead.
you.
my question to you is, since I already have a daughter in college and I already did a FAFSA for her, do I have to create another one, or I just go ahead and make my son create one for himself?
No, that's a good question. If you have a student in college already, you've already created your ID. You can use your ID to sign his form. Just the current student would need to make their own ID. So yours is good for multiple students.
Mr. Doyle, there's a few questions in the chat. The first one was, this is a question we get all the time. Can parents that are separated both fill out the FAFSA? So that's one that
So
you can.
yeah, only one person should fill out the FAFSA, and they say it's the person that's providing at least 50% of the support for that child. So basically, whoever the child is living with. Even though there are situations where parents rotate claiming a child every other year on their taxes if they're not together, the person with whom the child is living with is the person that should be completing the FAFSA.
Okay. The next question, I don't know if you can see it, but it says, is there an income limit for the FAFSA application?
No, there's like 65 different variables that are used to calculate what's called the expected family contribution. So for example, if there's a household income of $75,000, but there's 6 or 7 people in the family, they may qualify for more aid than a person that has just them and their child that makes $60,000. So there is no set limit that or dollar amount that says, okay, you make this amount, you're not getting anything. They take into account many different variables. So that's why when we say, there's no harm in completing it, because there really isn't. If you don't want to use the aid that is offered, you don't have to. But it's easier to decline it than it is to go back and ask for it later, because if you miss those deadlines, you kind of missed out on some grant money. Do you see any other ones? I'm trying to go.
Yeah, I might take this one. So, the one parent asked about, I walked away and missed the beginning of the statement. I heard right. $61,000. If you make $61,000 or less, is college free? Can you repeat that? So I'm going to explain that a little bit. So our public state universities, this is only strictly for our Illinois state public universities, which is why I am a big believer in all students completing at least one state public university. Because most of them, if your family income is $61,000 or less, the majority of the time, I can't make any promises because there's always ins and outs of everything. But most of our students, if that's the case, will go there tuition free. And a lot of students have made this public and a lot of students have not made this public. But most of our state universities, especially like Eastern Illinois University, there's a big campaign over this, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, our Big Ten University, U of I, Northern Illinois University, Southern Illinois University at Carbondale and Edwardsville. Those are like my favorite schools right there. I always push those a lot because a lot of times our students will go there for free. Their tuition is free, and then their room and board is covered through other aid. And if anything, there's a small remaining balance for the family to cover, but nothing compared to what an out-of-state or a private university would give you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I have a quick question.
Sure.
If a student is receiving Social Security survivor benefits from a deceased parent and those benefits will end upon graduation, do we list that as income even though it's going to end?
So initially you're going to have to, but then what you're going to want to do is contact the financial aid office of that particular school and notify them that that benefit is going to end. They're just going to ask for the documentation, but they won't. Well, I shouldn't say they won't. They shouldn't count it as income for that student because they know it's ending. So they'll just provide, the letter that says that those benefits are ceasing. You can provide that to the schools, but initially you will have to count that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There was a question, Mrs. Wolak, if a parent already has a parent loan for another college age student, will it hurt the next child of the parent from getting another federal loan? So it's not going to hurt the student. Parents can take out what are called plus loans on behalf of the student. Plus loan means parent loan for undergraduate students. So let's say I'm just using an example, $3,000 that's not covered by the student's financial aid and the parent wants to take a loan out for that money. You have to be creditworthy, apply, be approved, and the parents can borrow that additional amount to cover the tuition. It's not going to affect anything with the other student. It may affect your borrowing power for that other student, if that makes sense. So if you have $5,000 out in one student, are they going to allow you to take out another $5,000 for another? I don't know. Of course, it's going to be credit based and, all that good stuff that goes into who's approved for credit and who's not. But it's not going to have any effect on the student that is going to school because it's their application, it's their money. That federal loan is for them. It would just probably have something to do with how your borrowing power for that student. Can you repeat what you said in the beginning about creating the ID? So one parent and one student have to have the ID. So just one parent makes their FSA ID. you need that for your electronic signature, and then the student needs to have one as well. I would definitely use separate emails. So again, parents, if you don't have an email, just go on Gmail really quick, create one, because you have to have a separate one from the student, because that's how you're going to be signing the financial aid application pretty much. So yeah, if one parent gets denied a parent loan, the other parent can apply. Yes, Mrs. Wolak. Did we cover, anyone see anything else?
I went ahead and put the website on there to create your FSA ID. You can do that now, like Mr. Doyle said. So you can do that tonight while you're already in the mode for financial aid. You can log in tonight and you can create an ID for yourself as a parent and then one for your student. It's easier to do them both together and then write that down somewhere safe. Keep it somewhere safe because you will need it. And it takes longer to reset things, and you know how that goes. So we want to make sure we keep that safe. I always tell students, since we always have our phones and stuff, and your notepads in your phones, I don't know if you guys use the notepad app in your phone, keep it in there somewhere safe, okay?
So, any other questions? So, if you need anything, don't hesitate to email any of the counselors. Obviously, this is new to everyone with this, everything is virtual, but we'll do our very best to assist you guys as much as possible through the process. The only advice I would say is, if given the option, your tax return from the IRS.
What happened?
Go ahead.
I missed something because I had to. I was cleaning up my client. What did Miss Amy just say?
She went ahead and put the link to the FAFSA in the chat here. But it's also going to be online, and we're going to email the presentation and all the links to the parents as well. So you'll have it in your email. If not, it'll be on our website and also our YouTube channel.
Okay, perfect. Because I'm sorry I had to be interrupted because
That's okay.
I'm at work, and so that's why I had to put y'all fit you all in my schedule while I'm at work.
Well, we appreciate you fitting us in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions out there? Okay, well, thanks for joining us. And like I said, if anything comes up, please don't hesitate to email anyone, okay? Or call. We like to talk to people too. All right, everyone have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Great job.
Good night.
You're welcome.